Let's have a look at PIH and PRL. Well, PIH we know is released and produced by the hypothalamus. And the cells that produce that we can just call prolactin inhibiting hormone cells of the hypothalamus. And these prolactin inhibiting hormone producing cells of the hypothalamus are going to produce prolactin inhibiting hormone that affects the anterior pituitary. Not only does the hypothalamus and these prolactin inhibiting hormones producing cells make the hormone, but they also release the hormone. Well, how do they make the hormone? The same way any amino acid based hormone is made. Within a cell, we have DNA that encodes for the PIH protein. We transcribe, we translate it, and then we modify it using the Golgi apparatus, and we can store it within the hypothalamus until it's time to release it. Now, another name for PIH is dopamine. And so I think you'll be able to appreciate how dopamine enhancing drugs or dopamine inhibiting drugs can affect the ability of a nursing mother to produce milk. And the reason for that is if we enhance dopamine, well, prolactin inhibiting hormone is dopamine, it's going to inhibit the production of prolactin, a hormone produced by prolactin producing cells of the anterior pituitary. Too much PIH or too much dopamine or a drug that enhances the effect of PIH is going to inhibit prolactin producing cells from making prolactin and secreting that prolactin. We're not going to have that. Now, that's a desired effect in males or in females who aren't lactating. Dopamine levels will be high. Prolactin inhibiting hormones will be high, and they're going to inhibit the prolactinocyte, is another name for this, from making prolactin and secreting that prolactin. Here, the same cell that makes it secretes it. Both PIH and prolactin are going to use second messenger systems to affect their respective targets. For PIH, that target is the anterior pituitary gland. For prolactin, the target is the breast tissue. And the cells within this breast tissue that it affects is going to be these lactiferous sinuses. The alveolar cells that fill these lactiferous sinuses. Oxytocin affects the smooth muscle in these sinuses. Rather, these are filled with milk by alveolar cells. These milk-producing cells throughout the breast tissue. These are going to make milk, and that milk's going to accumulate in these storage sites before it's let down thanks to oxytocin. So prolactin affects these alveolar cells. Of the breast tissue. That make milk. Now when PIH levels are high, it's going to inhibit the release of prolactin. So PIH will inhibit the production of prolactin and that prolactin isn't going to be able to affect this breast tissue to make milk. Now, in a female who's breastfeeding, PIH gets suppressed. And if we suppress the hormone that suppresses the prolactinocyte, then milk is made. Okay, a couple tidbits about all this. The most common tumor of the anterior pituitary gland is a prolactinoma. Prolactinoma that affects these prolactin producing cells or prolactinocytes. That's the most common tumor of the anterior pituitary gland. This relationship is important to understand, especially for anybody who's interested in going into lactation specialty or lactation counseling. Positioning of the baby so that the baby can adequately feed. Understanding oxytocin's effect on the smooth muscle that eject the milk, and prolactin's effect on the ability to produce milk, and the effect of dopamine or prolactin inhibiting hormone on its ability to suppress the milk production can all play into whether or not that baby's going to thrive and be adequately fed, or if the mother's going to become stressed out because the baby's working so hard to feed on milk that's not even there, which can alter the mother's brain chemicals, which can affect her ability to produce milk, which can further exacerbate the problem. Understanding these relationships are important. Now, what would hypersecretion or hyposecretion of PIH do? Hypersecretion would prevent milk production. Hyposecretion would cause a lot of lactation, even in males. Now, hypersecretion of PRL or prolactin would cause a lot of milk production, even in males. And hyposecretion of PRL would cause no milk production. We may not even realize that if the female isn't pregnant. Okay, so I think that covers the name or names, the organ that makes it and the cell that makes it, the organ that secretes it, the cell that secretes it. The chemical class of these hormones are amino acid based for reasons I've described in earlier videos. How it travels through the blood, it does not need a protein carrier because amino acid-based hormones are water soluble. How it binds to its target, either on the prolactinocyte for PIH or on these alveolar cells for prolactin, is using a second messenger system that's found on the plasma membrane. What it's going to do is cause the release of prolactin, or inhibit the release of prolactin in the case of PIH, and cause the cells to make more lactose or more milk in the case of prolactin. Here's one of these alveolar cells, one of these little sacs that has, well, one of these sacs that have all these different cells that can make milk. And when prolactin binds to the cell surface of one of these cells, it's going to cause a second messenger system to release kinases that will activate genes, and the gene for lactose or milk production will be transcribed, translated, and the milk product will end up in this little sac, and it will make its way down these ducts and be stored in these sinuses, or these enlargements, until that milk is required. Prolactation makes milk. PIH inhibits it. We also saw the hypersecretion and hyposecretion. So what's going to stimulate PRL and what's going to inhibit it? Well, PRL is going to be stimulated by pregnancy, especially the later stages of pregnancy, when progesterone levels rise, when estrogen levels are high. So estrogen and progesterone can increase prolactin production. Now, what's going to stimulate the release of PIH? Well, that would be lack of progesterone or lack of estrogen. What's going to reduce PRL? Well, that's PIH. What's going to stimulate PIH is going to be low estrogen or low progesterone. All the things that aren't present when someone's not pregnant. Okay, you got to be careful, like I'm trying to be, because this is prolactin inhibiting hormone. And that's what's going to inhibit the prolactin. When would we want that? When someone's not pregnant. So that would be low estrogen and low progesterone. Now it's different for PRL, because during those conditions when we have high progesterone and high estrogen, the woman's pregnant and we want to be producing milk. Hopefully I didn't confuse you there.